Thank you, member. Recognizing the member for Nelson Creston.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I wanted to take the time to rise and put on the record why I'm in support of the hoist motion for Bill 4. And it's simply put, Honourable Speaker, I've been hearing from my constituents that they have some concerns with this bill, with the implications that it may ultimately lead to for some of the parks in our areas, such as Kokanee Glacier Park, which is also home to a glacier that provides the beginning point for many watersheds throughout the region. And they're quite concerned that with the lack of a clear definition around research, that this could lead to potential activities that might be damaging to that park. And they would prefer to be consulted on this type of amendment to the Parks Act so that they could have a better understanding of what the implications might be, but also to provide government feedback of their concerns of what those implications might be. And I think it's very fair, Honourable Speaker, to do that type of work of consulting with the public. Park users, the advocates, these are people who are using the parks on a regular basis. They treasure these places all over British Columbia, and they have a real stake in the long-term sustainability of our parks. It's not just users, or myself included. I enjoy going camping on a summer weekend at some of our many parks throughout British Columbia. It's not just users, though, it's anybody, right? We all benefit from having wild spaces, from having protected areas throughout our province so that our environment is more sustainable, that we have greater species diversity. This is long-term planning for generations to come, and that's why these places are protected, and that's why we must ensure that whatever activity takes place there is not going to damage the long-term sustainability of our parks. I think it's only fair to say that, and I don't know if anybody in this House would disagree with that. Perhaps the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, he might. In the past, he has certainly voted against legislation that increased park boundaries and has been noted to say that everything is just fine in parks and we don't need any more ecological protection for parks. And that's fine, that's his point of view. There's other people that share that point of view. But that point of view is not shared by everybody. Others have a different opinion. As I've been saying, my constituents are quite concerned that they want to retain the integrity of our provincial parks. And it's those type of discussions, it's those type of point of views that need to be shared in a public consultation process. And I think that the hoist motion provides the government the opportunity to go out and do that. It gives the government some time to speak with the very people who use parks, the people who advocate on behalf of parks, but most importantly, the experts, the biologists who know the integral connections that exist in our ecosystems and how any type of activity in parks impact those ecosystems. They need to be consulted more thoroughly prior to rushing into this type of amendment. And I think that if the government took the time to do that, they would feel more solid, more secure in the type of legislation that they would be putting forward. And they would be able to say, well, this is what we mean precisely by the research, and this is the type of implications that we foresee happening as a result of that. We know that, for example, if it was mining research, these are the type of environmental protections that need to take place based on the concerns that we heard from user groups of parks, from people who want to see our parks be sustained generation from generation to generation, as well as from the business community who want clear guidelines in the work that they need to do so that they can create jobs in this province. They're just looking for clarity as well, and I would hate to see us rush into legislation, that clarity at the end of the day not be there, and some of BC's businesses spend countless dollars on projects that just would not be viable because they haven't been given the proper guidelines for environmental due diligence to ensure that any potential risks are mitigated, or perhaps that those locations were not good locations in the first place. And so I see taking the time to do this type of consultation a good move for business. I think it's a good move for the long-term sustainability of our parks. I think it's a good move for the public to be involved at any given time on anything, of course, that's our job here as public servants, is to work with the public. And I think that this hoist motion gives the government the opportunity to take the time to do just that, which is, of course, work with the public. And the value of those types of meaningful consultations, I believe a colleague of mine discussed doing these consultations in a bipartisan fashion so that we take the politics out of this and work collectively, jointly, for the benefit of long-term sustainability, multi-generational sustainability in our parks. I think that's a great idea. And in fact, you see this type of bipartisan or multi-partisan approach to consultation in local governments, just by their very nature. Some local governments are party-based in this province, many are not. When I served on local government for the city of Nelson, it was not a party-based system, and we did a wide variety of public consultation processes that, of course, would be considered multi-partisan because we were all at the table, all of us taking in the information that the public had to share about things that they were concerned about. So, for example, when we decided to develop the new Nelson District Community Complex, we had broad public consultation, not just about the complex, but about the green space that was going to go around that complex. We had many people give their input and give guidance of what they would like that green space to look like, what they would like it to be, who they would like it to serve, and so on, Honourable Speaker. And I dare say that that process got much more public consultation for a very small portion of green space in the city of Nelson than this piece of legislation is for all of BC parks. So, Honourable Speaker, I think it's very important that we move towards a stronger, better, bipartisan public consultation process before we rush into essentially what this bill is asking us to do, before we rush in to change the Parks Act with these particular amendments. We should be involving the public. It's a simple concept. It's a concept that we often conduct, not often enough, in this House. If our committees sat more frequently, Honourable Speaker, I'm sure we'd be engaging the public more often. But let's start now, right? Let's start increasing our public consultation, meaningful public consultation now. If the Minister of Environment is wondering how to conduct this, she only needs to look at her colleague, the Minister for Social Development, who's presently doing public consultation for a disability white paper. It's a lengthy process. It's engaging many people, and people are having their say. Whether the government ultimately listens to them, that's yet to be seen. I sure hope the government does listen to those people but who are participating in this process, as I would hope that the government would take the opportunity with this hoist motion and open up a public consultation process, listen to what the people have to say about the proposed amendment to our parks, and then go from there and take from the public their concerns and ensure that they're reflected in determining the long-term sustainability of activities in our parks. I think it's a simple request, Honourable Speaker. I think it's one that the government most certainly can do, Honourable Speaker. So it's one that I hope the government will take the opportunity to do. With that, Honourable Speaker, I'll wrap up with my remarks. They're short, but I think it's a simple concept. Go out to the public, talk to the public, hear what they have to say, learn what their concerns are, and implement those concerns, and know that whatever decision that we make in this House is going to have consequences outside of this House. And that those consequences, particularly in our parks, need to be better planned out than the current process right now. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker.